All right, welcome back to ABA Exam Review. This is part 100 of our RBT exam practice question series, where we're going through a set of RBT practice questions and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. If you're looking for our proven study materials, check out btexamreview.com. We offer practice exam study guides and, of course, our famous combo pack. We have a YouTube membership now. If you'd like to support us further, when you pass, make sure you let us know so we can include you in our Sunday shout out. Other than that, let's work hard, study hard, get to the questions. Question 1. Grayson will stomp his feet and cross his arms when he is not allowed to buy a toy at Target. The function of this behavior is to obtain a tangible. What is the proper way to put Grayson's behavior on extinction? First things first, let's define extinction. Extinction is withholding reinforcement from a previously reinforced behavior. Now, why is the function of the behavior important when you're putting it on extinction? Well, the function of the behavior is going to indicate what reinforcement are you withholding. If the function is a tangible, then the extinction is going to involve withholding a tangible. If the function is attention, then extinction will involve withholding attention, so on and so forth. That is the essence of extinction as it relates to function. Function is going to tell you what do you need to withhold. In this case, Grayson stomps his feet and crosses his arms in order to buy a toy at Target. So he's trying to get the toy. If we're going to put this behavior on extinction, what are we going to withhold? A, ignore Grayson stomping his feet and crossing his arms, but purchase the toy. We are not withholding attention because Grayson is not acting to gain attention. That is not going to put the behavior on extinction. B, teach Grayson the correct way to earn a toy, but do not buy the toy if he is stomping his feet. Okay, here we go, right? He's stomping his feet to gain the toy. If we're going to put it on extinction, then he's not going to gain the toy by stomping the feet. Additionally, B is also teaching a replacement behavior. And while teaching a replacement behavior is not part of the extinction definition, it is part of a good extinction package. B looks great. Let's read all of our answer choices. C, do not allow Grayson to leave the store until he is done stomping his feet. Again, that has nothing to do with withholding the toy. That's the essence of extinction here. We're withholding that tangible. And then D, prevent any sensory sensation from Grayson's behavior. His behavior isn't automatic or sensory. It's not about that, right? The whole idea is we're withholding what Grayson is trying to obtain, which is the tangible. And the answer choice that describes that is B. We're going to teach Grayson the correct way to earn a toy, but do not buy the toy, withhold the toy if he is stomping his feet. That way, we put his behavior on extinction. So what is the proper way to put it on extinction? Well, the answer choice is B. Although you love all the holidays, Christmas is by far your favorite one. You never listen to Christmas music before Christmas season, however. But as soon as December 1st comes around, you listen to Christmas music nonstop. December 1st functions as the what in relation to listening to Christmas music. Okay, kind of a long question, kind of a tricky question. So let's not panic. Let's just break down the question and see what are we looking for here. So the question is asking us about December 1st as it relates to Christmas music. So we know as soon as December 1st comes around, we start listening to Christmas music nonstop. So December 1st is clearly an antecedent, right? December 1st comes around, we listen to Christmas music. So when it's an antecedent, typically we need to ask ourselves, are we dealing with motivating operations or discriminative stimuli? So MOs or SDs. And the difference here is the MOs increase the value or decrease the value, right? It makes you want something or not want something. The SD simply says this consequence is available. Well, is Christmas music available to you all year? Yes, you can listen to Christmas music at any time, but only when December 1st comes around does the value of Christmas music go up. You start wanting it. So in that case, is December 1st an MO? Well, yes, because December 1st is increasing the value of the Christmas music. It's making you want the Christmas music. It isn't an SD because it's not signaling Christmas music is available. Christmas music is available all year, right? It isn't a prompt either, right? Because a prompt is going to follow the SD. All December 1st is doing is increasing the value of the Christmas music. It's making you want it more. And it's not a consequence because it's clearly coming before listening to Christmas music. One of the most important things you can do while studying for the exam is to really understand the difference between an MO and an SD. It's one of the most important skills that RBTs need to pass the exam. An MO simply makes you want or not want. An SD says, okay, it's available or not available. In this case, Christmas music is always available, but only when December 1st comes around does the value increase. Do you want the Christmas music more? So December 1st functions as the MO in relation to listening to Christmas music. Giada cut up her vegetables to roast in the oven. She set the oven temperature and then put a timer on for 1 hour. The timer went off when she was upstairs, and by the time she got to the oven, the vegetables were burned. What needs to change regarding Giada's behavior so the vegetables do not burn? All right, kind of a tricky question. There's a couple different answers you might consider here. Well, first, we're looking at Giada's behavior. Always start there, right? Giada's behavior in relation to the vegetables not burning. So we know she cut them up, set the oven temperature, put a timer on, and then went upstairs. When the timer went off, apparently it took her too long to get to the oven because the vegetables burned. So in that case, what needs to change? A, increase her enter response time. Well, if you picked A, you would have to ask yourself, what two responses am I trying to increase the time in between? We're only looking at a singular instance here, right? We have our timer, SD, and then the response of going downstairs to the oven. We're not really looking at time in between responses here, so IRT doesn't make sense. B, increase your duration. What duration would you want to increase here? You could argue that you would want to decrease the duration it took her to get to the oven, but I don't think you would ever want to increase the duration if the vegetables are burning. C, decrease your latency. Now, you would definitely want to decrease the latency, right? Because the timer is the SD, and the latency is the time in between the start of a response and the SD. So we want her to react quicker to the timer, which is the SD. So we want her to start her response sooner. So decreasing the latency would accomplish that. The SD would go off, which is the timer, right? So there'd be an SD, and then her response would start quicker. That would be a way to prevent the vegetables from burning. So C looks pretty good. D, increase her latency. Well, we don't want to increase the time it takes her to react, right? So what needs to change? Well, if this said decrease her duration, you could argue we would want to decrease the time it took her to get downstairs, but it doesn't. It says increase. So the only one that really makes sense is to decrease the latency between the SD and the response. And the SD in this case is the timer. The response is starting to go downstairs. So if we want Giada to stop burning the vegetables, we want to decrease her latency. This is a challenging question, okay? Make sure you break it down and understand these three measurements, what they are, and when and why each would apply, okay? Decreasing duration would make sense. Increasing duration doesn't make any sense. So the best answer is going to be to decrease latency between the SD and the response. Bonnie and Clyde always get into arguments when they are at their house alone. However, they never fight around their families. The families have blank over Bonnie and Clyde's behavior. This is actually a pretty straightforward question, okay? When behavior occurs at a greater frequency in the presence of certain stimuli and occurs at a lesser frequency in the presence of other stimuli, what do we call that? Okay. In this case, the arguments, right, happen at the house, but then they get around their families and their behavior changes. So their families have what over their behavior? A, prompt control. Prompt control is not really a thing, and their families aren't prompting them to do anything. B, stimulus control. The families have stimulus control because they directly impact Bonnie and Clyde's behavior. Instructional control is just the same thing as stimulus control. When we say we have instructional control, what we mean is we have control over the learner's behavior. Their behavior happens more or less in the presence of us. And that's what's happening here, okay? The families have stimulus control over the behavior. That behavior is happening less around them. They are the stimuli which controls that behavior. It alters that behavior. Okay, so stimulus control and instructional control are the same thing. Stimulus control simply, at the most simple level, right, says the frequency of the behavior changes in the presence of certain stimuli. And in this case, the family affects the behavior. The family has stimulus control, or they have instructional control, which is the same exact thing. So really our answer here is B and C. If you don't know what stimulus control is, that's okay. Go look it up and quickly learn it, right? What we're trying to do is get more fluent and get more exposure. That's how we're going to get better at the exam, and that's how we're going to be better RBTs. Which of the following answer choices does not affect current behavior? I always drill this question. It's a very, very important question as far as concepts go. Okay, we know consequences affect what? Consequences affect future behavior. It's a very important distinction. Consequences follow behavior. They can't affect current behavior. They only affect future behavior. So we're looking for the answer choice that does not affect current behavior. A, motivating operations. Well, MOs temporarily can affect behavior, okay? But they're antecedents, right? So they come before the behavior, not after. B, discriminative stimuli evoke those behaviors, right? Those current behaviors. C, response prompts cue those current behaviors. So A, B, and C are all antecedents to the current behavior. Again, consequence interventions D come after current behavior and affect future behavior. So which of the following answer choices does not affect current behavior? Well, of course, consequence interventions. Consequences increase or decrease future behavior. Very, very important to remember. The first step in any skill acquisition plan is to do what? So when we are developing a skill acquisition plan, what are we doing? Okay. Think about if you were to teach a skill, where would you start? Well, the first thing you would want to do, right, is obviously pick a skill. We need a skill to start. So we'd pick a skill. Okay. Then we would set a goal. Then we might take baseline. We begin our intervention, take data, evaluate the data, and then determine, do we need to change the plan? And that's pretty much the essence of a skill acquisition plan, right? But the first step in any skill acquisition plan is what? A, gather baseline. Well, we can't gather baseline until we have an actual target. B, identify a target skill. Now, this might seem extremely simple. That's because it is. When you get easy questions on the exam, and there are some easy questions, right, you might encounter, you have to trust your preparation and not overthink it. If they're asking for the first step in a skill acquisition plan, well, the first thing you're going to do is identify a target skill, right? You have to do that before you can do anything else. What about C, setting a goal for the plan? Well, we can't set a goal until we have our skill. And then D, evaluate the plan and adjust as needed. D is the last step. After we have all our data, we've evaluated it, then we can decide, are we making progress or are we not? The first step in a plan is to identify that target skill, which then leads to a goal, which leads to baseline, which leads to intervention, which leads to adjustment. So B is our answer. A 5-year-old girl will scream at the top of her lungs when she needs something to eat or drink. Her mom prints out 2 cards, one with a cup on it and one with a plate on it. She teaches the girl to exchange the cards for food. What is the mom doing? All right. You might recognize this immediately as a picture exchange communication system, or PECS. If you don't, that's okay. You'll be able to figure it out regardless. What we know is the 5-year-old girl screams at the top of her lungs to get food or drink, which is not socially valid, right? So her mom prints out picture cards and is teaching her to exchange, a much more appropriate and valid way to communicate. So what is the mom doing? A, incidental teaching. Incidental teaching is just naturalistic teaching. We don't really know, though. We're not sure how she's teaching the girl. Okay, we just know she's teaching the girl to exchange cards for food. We don't know if she's doing it naturally or if B, she's using a contrived discrete trial training method. It's unclear, okay? There's no information indicating either one. What we don't want to do on the exam is add information that isn't there. So C, functional communication training, she is teaching the girl to functionally communicate. And how? Well, she's teaching her to exchange these cards for food instead of screaming at the top of her lungs. We know she's teaching communication We're just not really sure if she's doing it naturally or through discrete trial teaching. So the best answer here is going to be functional communication training, because that we know for sure that's what the mom is doing. So what we're doing is picking our best answer given the information in the question. What is the mom doing? Well, she's functional communication training. A 3-year-old is starting to develop more spontaneous language. As they walk around the park with their mom, they start saying out loud the things they see. What are they engaging in? All right, a verbal behavior question. Now, technically, verbal behavior is not on the task list, but as an RBT, these are the 4 verbal behaviors that you do want to know and be familiar with, okay? Because you're going to be engaging with them every day. We want to know man's, tax, interverbals, and echoics. So let's go over them again. Man's, they're just a request, right? The learner's making a request. Tax, the learner is labeling. Interverbals is just a back and forth conversation. And echoics are repeating what someone just said. And you just need to be familiar with those 4. So if the 3-year-old is walking around the park with the mom and saying things out loud as they see them, are they requesting things? Well, no, they're just saying things out loud. Are they labeling things? Yes, they're tacting. Are they having a conversation? Not necessarily. They're just labeling things they see. And are they repeating anything? No, right? They're just seeing a bench, saying a bench. Saying a dog, saying dog. Seeing a tree, saying tree. All the 3-year-old is doing is labeling. In other words, all the 3-year-old is doing is tacting. As long as you're familiar with these 4, you'll be okay. Great. Thank you for watching. Thank you for helping us get to 100 practice question series. How amazing. Please check out btexamreview.com for all of our practice materials. Subscribe, join, let us know when you pass. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.